Ever wonder what made B.A. Baracus' van more legendary than the team itself? I mean, we're talking about a vehicle that survived more chaos than a war zone, carried enough firepower to start a small revolution, and somehow always had exactly what the team needed at exactly the right moment. But here's the thing. The real story behind this iconic GMC Vandura is even crazier than anything you saw on screen. Today, we're diving deep into 15 shocking facts about the most recognizable van in television history. And trust me, some of these secrets were kept hidden for decades. From dangerous mishaps to illegal modifications, from Hollywood magic to real military interest, this van's story is absolutely wild. So if you pity the fool who doesn't know these facts, stick around. We're counting down from number 15 to the most shocking revelation at number 1. Let's roll. But before we jump in, if you love it when a plan comes together, do me a favor. Smash that like button and subscribe to Torque Sega. It really helps us bring you more incredible stories about legendary vehicles. Hit that notification bell so you never miss out. Alright, let's get into it. Fact number 15. The iconic color scheme was a complete accident. Here's something that'll surprise you right from the start. That legendary gray and black paint job that became the van's signature look? Total accident. The producers originally envisioned an all-black van, sleek, intimidating, pure menace on wheels. They wanted it to look like something straight out of a covert ops mission. But when production day arrived, disaster struck. The custom black automotive paint they'd specially ordered was backordered for at least 6 weeks. The show was set to start filming in 3 days. Panic mode activated. The production designer, desperate for a solution, raided the studio paint shop and grabbed whatever was available. He found gray primer and some leftover black paint from a canceled cop show. They slapped it on the van as a temporary fix, fully planning to repaint it properly later. Then George Peppard walked onto set, took one look at the two-tone van and said, "Don't change a thing." He loved how the gray and black combination gave it a military, tactical appearance, like it had been through combat and earned its stripes. But here's the crazy part. NBC executives were so impressed that they made it official. From that point forward, every single van used in the series had to match that exact shade of gray. The paint department had to custom mix the color for all 5 years of production because that specific gray didn't exist in any manufacturer's catalog. A 6-week paint delay accidentally created one of the most iconic vehicle designs in television history. Number 14. Mr. T never actually drove the van. This one's going to blow your mind. The man who became synonymous with that van, B.A. Baracus himself, Mr. T, he never drove it. Not once during regular filming. Now, Mr. T had a valid driver's license, no problem there. But here's what nobody knew. After all the modifications, the armor plating, the equipment, the reinforced frame, this van handled like an absolute tank. The steering was so heavy from the added weight that it required serious arm strength just to make a turn. The brakes were extremely sensitive. And the blind spots? Massive. The producers set up 2 weeks of intensive driving training for Mr. T before filming began. He was determined to do it himself. Professional stunt coordinators worked with him daily. But on the final test drive, disaster struck. Mr. T accidentally drove the van straight through a catering tent, destroying over $30,000 worth of food and equipment. Thankfully, nobody was injured. That's when the producers made an executive decision. 4 wide shots and actual driving scenes. They hired 5 different stunt drivers who wore Mr. T wigs and his signature gold chains. Each driver specialized in different stunts. One for jumps, one for high-speed chases, one for tight maneuvers. But here's the shocking truth that was kept secret for years. Mr. T was actually relieved. He later admitted in interviews that the modified van terrified him, and he was grateful professionals were handling it. Every close-up of B.A. behind the wheel? The van wasn't even moving. They'd film it on a stationary rig with effects added later. Number 13. There were actually 6 different vans, not 1. Think you were watching the same van throughout the entire series? Think again. The production secretly used 6 completely different GMC Vanduras, and each one had a very specific purpose. Van number 1 was the beauty van. Pristine condition, used exclusively for close-ups and dialogue scenes. The interior was fully detailed, and the paint job was constantly maintained to perfection. Van number 2 was the stunt van. This beast had a reinforced roll cage, fortified frame, and could withstand serious punishment. This is the van you saw crashing through walls and taking hits. Van number 3 was the jump van. Stripped down internally to reduce weight, with a specially modified suspension system designed specifically for those flying airborne scenes. Now here's where it gets wild. Van number 4 was the explosion van. They would literally blow this thing up, repair it with body filler and welding, then blow it up again. By the final season, the crew joked it was more Bondo and duct tape than actual metal. Van number 5 served as the backup beauty van, used whenever Van 1 needed maintenance or repairs. But van number 6? That's the shocking part. It was the parts van, basically an organ donor. Whenever any of the other vans needed a door, mirror, seat, or component, they'd strip it from van 6. By the time the series ended, van 6 was nothing but an empty shell sitting in a warehouse. The crew had a running dark joke that van 6 sacrificed itself to keep the others alive. One van literally gave its life so the show could go on. Number 12. The van's weight literally broke through studio floors. After all the modifications, armor plating, and equipment installation, this van weighed nearly 8,000 pounds. That's almost double what a stock GMC Vandura weighed. And this created absolutely catastrophic problems. During season 2, they were filming an interior scene on a studio soundstage. The van had been parked in the same spot for 3 consecutive days. Suddenly, crew members heard a loud cracking sound. Before anyone could react, the concrete floor beneath the van literally fractured and collapsed. The van dropped 6 inches into the broken floor. Production shut down immediately. The damage? $50,000 in repairs and an entire week of lost filming time. The studio was furious. But it didn't stop there. In season 3, they were shooting in a parking garage when the unthinkable happened again. The van broke through the parking structure and partially fell through to the level below. It took an industrial crane and 8 hours to extract it. The third incident was even more terrifying. The van was inside a warehouse for a scene when the wooden floor started buckling beneath it. They evacuated everyone just minutes before the entire section collapsed completely. After that nightmare, the studio instituted a strict new protocol. Before the van could enter any building, location scouts had to verify the floor's load-bearing capacity with structural engineers. The van basically needed building permits just to park. Insurance companies started treating it like heavy construction equipment. That's how dangerously heavy this thing had become. Number 11. The iconic engine sound was completely fake. You know that distinctive high-pitched turbine whine the van made when BA floored it? That incredible jet engine-like sound that became iconic? Complete fabrication. The actual van sounded like, well, a van. Sure, slightly louder due to modifications, but nothing special. The sound effects team needed something more dramatic, more powerful, more memorable. They tried everything. Recorded actual jet engines, too overwhelming. Tried various sports cars, didn't fit the character. Nothing worked. Then, pure accident changed everything. A sound engineer was cleaning the recording studio late one night. He was using an industrial shop vacuum when he accidentally partially covered the hose opening with his hand. It created this weird, high-pitched whirring sound. He stopped, recorded it, played with the pitch and speed, layered it over the actual van engine sound. Perfect. That vacuum cleaner sound effect was used in every single episode for 5 seasons. Fans absolutely loved it. But here's the truly shocking part. After the show became a phenomenon, diehard fans started trying to recreate that sound in their own replica vans. One guy in Texas became so obsessed that he actually installed a small functional jet turbine in his custom A-Team van just to replicate the sound. It worked beautifully, for exactly 30 seconds before it drained his entire auxiliary fuel tank. The fuel consumption was so insane, he could only run it for half a minute at a time. He spent $15,000 to recreate a sound effect that originally came from a $200 vacuum cleaner. Number 10. The armor plating was real and highly illegal. This is where things get seriously controversial. The van's armor plating wasn't Hollywood props or fake panels. They used actual ballistic steel, the same grade used in legitimate armored vehicles and military applications. And in California, that was completely illegal for civilian vehicles. The producers worked around this by classifying the vans as movie props rather than functional vehicles. But here's the problem. They absolutely were functional. And the crew knew it. In the Nevada desert, far from any oversight, they conducted secret tests. They took one of the stunt vans and fired various weapons at it. 38 caliber rounds? Bounced right off. 9mm? No penetration. Even certain rifle rounds failed to pierce the armor. The crew started calling it the real deal. But when the California Highway Patrol caught wind of these tests, everything hit the fan. They threatened to impound every single van for being illegal armored vehicles. CHP argued that if the armor could stop bullets, it wasn't a prop, it was an unlicensed armored car. The legal battle was intense. Eventually, the producers had to sign official documents swearing the armor was purely decorative and the vans would never be driven on public roads. Except they drove them on public roads constantly. For 5 years. They just made absolutely certain to avoid highway patrol officers. The most shocking part? When one van broke down on the freeway, they couldn't call a regular tow truck. The armored weight would have destroyed it. They had to call a specialized heavy-duty wrecker normally used for moving construction equipment. The tow truck driver took one look at it and said, "This isn't a van. This is a tank with windows." Number 9. The sliding door was legitimately deadly. That iconic sliding door that BA would dramatically throw open? It sent 3 crew members to the hospital. After armor plating and reinforcement, that door weighed over 200 pounds. But the real danger was the spring-loaded mechanism they installed to make it slide faster for dramatic effect. It moved with such violent force that it could genuinely break bones. The first injury happened to a camera operator. His hand got caught in the mechanism during a take. 2 fingers broken instantly. Production shut down for the day. 3 weeks later, a grip got slammed in the shoulder by the door. Separated shoulder, out of work for 10 days. But the worst incident involved a guest actor. During his scene, he didn't move away fast enough. The door caught him directly in the ribs at full speed. Cracked 2 ribs. He was rushed to the emergency room. After that nightmare, the insurance company delivered an ultimatum. Implement safety protocols immediately, or we shut down production permanently. They installed a mandatory safety system. Only 3 designated crew members were authorized to operate the door. Actors had to stand at least 3 feet away when it was in motion. They literally painted a yellow danger line on the ground showing the impact zone. George Peppard absolutely refused to go near that door after witnessing the rib injury. In every scene where he appears to be standing by the door, he was actually filmed separately and edited in post-production. The door was never in the same shot with him. The entire crew developed a dark running joke. They'd say, the van survived explosions, crashes, and gunfire. But that door is the real killer. The custom wheels cost more than most cars. Those iconic chrome wheels with the red center caps? Each individual will cost $12,000. In 1983 money. That's more expensive than most new cars at the time. But there's a legitimate reason. These weren't regular wheels. They were custom forged from a specialized aluminum alloy specifically engineered to handle the extreme weight of the armored van. Standard wheels would literally crack and fail under the stress. The manufacturer, Centerline Wheels, had to create entirely new tooling and manufacturing processes just for this project. Each wheel required 40 hours of precision fabrication. They were essentially hand-built pieces of automotive art. But the center caps were the real nightmare. They had to match the van's red stripe exactly. The first batch came back too orange. The second batch was too dark. The third batch was perfect color-wise, but the paint kept chipping off during stunts. Finally, they had the caps anodized in red, an expensive chemical process that permanently bonds the color to the metal. It held up perfectly, but it cost a fortune. By the series finale, they'd gone through 14 complete sets of wheels. That's 56 individual wheels total. At $12,000 each, that's $672,000 just in wheels alone. Here's the shocking part. In Season 4, the producers tried to cut costs by using cheaper replica wheels. They thought nobody would notice. Wrong. Car enthusiasts immediately spotted the difference and sent angry letters to NBC. The wheel spoke design was slightly off, the finish wasn't quite right, and the red caps didn't match perfectly. The backlash was so intense that they went back to the expensive originals. The producers realized they'd accidentally created such an iconic look that fans could spot a fake wheel from a television screen. Those wheels became as important to the show's identity as Mr. T's mohawk. Number 7. The van started an underground black market. By Season 3, fan obsession reached criminal levels. An actual black market emerged for van parts, but not replicas. Real parts stolen directly from the production. It started innocently. A crew member sold a damaged center cap for $500. Word spread fast. Soon, pieces were vanishing from the set constantly. Mirrors, door handles, entire seats disappeared overnight. The thefts escalated dangerously. Someone posing as a mechanic walked onto set and stole the original steering wheel in broad daylight. Another person dressed as a janitor made off with the CB radio equipment. The most brazen theft? During a location shoot, someone literally unbolted the entire sliding door and drove away with it. Security footage showed a pickup truck, fake credentials, and a 2-person team working like professionals. That door later appeared on a replica van in Tokyo. The Japanese owner had paid $25,000 for it, completely unaware it was stolen. Production estimated over $100,000 in losses. They started marking everything with invisible UV ink, hired dedicated van security, and kept the vehicles in locked warehouses between shoots. Even then, someone managed to steal the custom gear shift knob from the beauty van. The insurance company called it the most targeted prop vehicle in television history. The black market for A-Team van parts still exists today on dark web forums. Number 6. Mr. T's jewelry destroyed everything it touched. Mr. T's signature gold chains and rings weren't just character accessories. They were instruments of destruction. Those heavy gold chains and chunky rings scratched, gouged, and destroyed every surface they contacted. The driver's door suffered worst. By the end of Season 1, It looked like it had been mauled by a wild animal. Deep gouges everywhere from his chains dragging across it during entries and exits. The paint was completely scraped through to bare metal in multiple spots. The steering wheel was replaced 4 times during the series. The leather would wear completely through from his rings within months. Each replacement cost $800. The dashboard told a brutal story. Mr. T habitually rested his hands there during dialogue scenes. His rings carved permanent grooves into the plastic. The prop department tried protective films, rubber coatings, even industrial-grade clear shields. His jewelry destroyed everything. But here's the absolutely shocking twist. When they auctioned the vans after the series ended, collectors specifically demanded the one with all the damage. They called Mr. T's scratches and gouges authentication marks. The beat-up, scarred, jewelry-damaged van sold for 3 times more than the pristine backup van. Battle scars became treasure. What cost thousands in repairs became hundreds of thousands in value. Number 5. The van had its own insurance policy, as a cast member. This sounds insane, but it's completely true. NBC insured the van as if it were a human cast member. Not the physical vehicles, those had normal vehicle insurance. But the character of the van itself. The policy covered lost revenue if anything prevented the van from appearing on screen. If the van couldn't perform, production could claim insurance money for shutdown days. The annual premium? $50,000. The insurance company classified it as a non-human performer. The same category used for famous animal actors like Lassie or the dolphins from Flipper. The van literally had the same legal status as a trained dolphin. It appeared on official call sheets. Actors were numbered 1 through 4. The van was number 5. This created absurd paperwork situations. When a stunt van was damaged, they filed an injury report for a vehicle. Insurance adjusters asked questions like, was the van conscious when the accident occurred? An actual question on the form designed for animal actors. The policy paid out twice. Once when all vans were simultaneously unavailable for repairs, forcing a week-long production shutdown. The second time when the beauty van was stolen and driven to Mexico. It was recovered 48 hours later, but insurance covered the lost filming days. The thief claimed he was starting his own A-Team tribute show. Number 4. The van's engine was swapped every single season. Here's something even hardcore fans never knew. The van never kept the same engine for more than 1 season. Not due to breakdowns, but because of corporate sponsorship deals that kept changing. Season 1 featured a modified Chevrolet 350 small block. Season 2 got a 454 big block after Chevrolet paid for prominent placement. Season 3 returned to the 350 but added a Turbonetics turbocharger. The company paid $60,000 for the exposure. Season 4 brought the wildest change. Detroit Diesel paid massive money to install their diesel engine, wanting to prove diesels could be performance motors. It was a disaster. So loud they couldn't record dialogue when it ran. Chase scenes had to be speed-ramped in post-production because it was painfully slow. Each swap required complete rebuilds. New motor mounts, different transmissions, entirely redesigned cooling systems. The mechanics joked the van had an identity crisis. But here's the shocking truth. Performance actually decreased with each swap. The original 350 was fastest and most reliable. By season 5, the diesel was so sluggish they had to undercrank the film to make it appear faster. What looked like high-speed action on screen was actually the van struggling at 35 miles per hour. Corporate money funded expensive stunts, but slowly destroyed the van's actual performance. Number 3. The van caused an actual international incident. In 1985, the production decided to film establishing shots in Mexico without proper permits. They simply drove one of the armored vans across the border and started shooting. What happened next became an international crisis. Mexican police spotted the vehicle. They saw the armor plating, observed weapons visible through windows, and immediately assumed it was an unauthorized American military vehicle operating on Mexican soil. Within minutes, armed officers surrounded the van with guns drawn. The crew frantically tried explaining it was a television prop. But the real armor plating made authorities more suspicious, not less. The situation escalated rapidly. Mexican military was called. Soon soldiers with automatic rifles surrounded a fake TV van while the terrified crew showed scripts and production documents nobody believed. 6 hours of standoff. Multiple calls to the American embassy. Eventually, Mexican intelligence verified the show's legitimacy, but the government was furious. They banned the A-Team from ever filming in Mexico again. NBC paid a $50,000 fine. The U.S. State Department issued a formal diplomatic apology. International news covered it extensively. American TV van nearly starts border war was an actual headline. After that nightmare, the vans needed special documentation to cross any border, with officials certifying the weapons were props and armor was decorative. even though everyone knew the armor was completely functional. One van's Hollywood fantasy almost created a real international incident. Number 2. GMC never sponsored the show, then sued to use it. GMC never sponsored the A-Team. They actually tried stopping the show, sending cease and desist letters over liability concerns. After a 3-month legal battle, they compromised with a disclaimer. Then the show became a hit. GMC reversed course and started using A-Team van images in their own marketing without permission. This triggered a second lawsuit, but reversed. Eventually both sides called a truce. GMC released a limited edition A-Team paint package. Only 200 made, now worth over $100,000 each. Number 1. The U.S. military tried to actually buy the van design. In 1986, U.S. Army Special Forces contacted producers wanting to buy the van design for real military use. Fort Bragg had used A-Team episodes for training and concluded Hollywood accidentally designed a better urban assault vehicle than defense contractors. They offered $200,000 for complete specs. Army engineers met with prop makers, wanting the surveillance setup and modular interior. The deal collapsed when Universal refused to sell military rights. 15 shocking facts about BA's legendary GMC Vandura. Mr. T never drove it. 6 vans were used. The engine sound was a vacuum cleaner. The deadly door hospitalized 3 crew members. Wheels cost $12,000 each, and a black market emerged for stolen parts. Most incredible? The U.S. Army Special Forces wanted to militarize the design. This van survived explosions, legal battles, international incidents, and became more than a vehicle. It became a legend. Which fact shocked you most? The military connection? International incident? Comment below. If you enjoyed this, subscribe to Torque Sega for more legendary vehicle stories. Hit that notification bell and like button. The A-Team taught us plans come together, but now we know the real MVP was always that van. Thanks for watching Torque Sega. I'll see you next time. Remember, I love it when a plan comes together.